Hello and welcome. This is the very first video of Philosophy and the Towns of the Future with a focus on artificial intelligence or AI. In this video, I will cover all the information you need to start off with this course, including any logistical details, as well as going through the overview of the course and trying to get familiar with some basic concepts that will come in handy as you move forward. So as you know, this is a course about artificial intelligence. It doesn't require any background knowledge on the topic. However, I do recommend that you have some familiarity with general concepts in philosophy, which would make your understanding faster and smoother overall. The goal of the course is to help you have the background necessary in order to engage in a wide range of discussions across the philosophy, ethics, and safety of AI, a topic that can occasionally be controversial. And so the goal of this course is not to give you any conclusive answers that wouldn't be possible anyways at the moment, but it is aimed to let you explore and think carefully about a series of questions that pertain to this discourse. For that purpose, the course is divided into three parts, as you will see. The first part is meant to be this general introduction to artificial intelligence, a little bit of history of the field and how we got to the current state of the art, the large language models, LLMs, all these systems behind the chatbots that you may have used already, such as ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini, and we'll try to get a better sense of how the systems work and why are they important for this conversation. The second part of this course will introduce you to the conceptual foundation behind AI ethics and safety and ask questions such as what would it take for powerful intelligent systems that are not human to pose existential risk to humanity. And this is broadly framed in terms of the alignment problem. In other words, how can we make sure that AI systems have human goals and values? How can we make sure that they're human aligned? And what does that even mean? And the third part of the course is aimed at giving you the big picture perspective of what we might be wondering about and worried about, which could be some weird futures that we're very uncertain about. And as you'll see, it's very difficult to even speculate about how a future with very powerful AI systems could be, systems that exceed human intelligence, and phenomena that we have never encountered before in the history of humanity. And in thinking about those futures, what are some moral considerations we should keep in mind so that we act in morally responsible ways towards our individual and collective futures? So these are the themes of the three parts of the course. As you know, it's an entirely asynchronous online class, although it's very likely we will be scheduling some synchronous Zoom sessions for Q&A or discussion, but you will receive further information on that as we move forward. And of course, if you need to speak to me, you're always welcome to email me at this email, and we can always just schedule a Zoom meeting. Now, the readings for the course are about two readings every week. You will see that some of them are quite lengthy. Sometimes there are also videos or additional resources. and there are usually going to be some short video lectures by me, which are aimed to guide you through the readings rather than cover everything that's necessary to know or answer every question, which would be unfortunately very difficult to do. But you will be able to find all these readings here, so you don't need to purchase any books. But if you would like to buy a book, Human Compatible by Stuart Russell is a very good option. As you will see, many of the readings for the course are from Human Compatible. It's a very good introductory book, and all the other readings are either hyperlinked or you can find them on Brightspace in the section Content. So this is the part about readings. Each part of the course will have its own assignment, which will help you kind of organize and manage your time better. And you can find the due dates here. And of course, you will be hearing more from me via email and announcements and reminders for when the assignments are due. Remember, academic integrity. Don't submit AI-generated text as your own. This is a form of plagiarism and results into a failing grade for the course. So please try to submit only your own writing and thinking. If you need any accommodations made for you, please check this link out. And now let's try to frame this course a little bit more. What are we trying to get out of this class? Start thinking, reflecting on the nature of human and machine intelligence and goal-directed behavior. What does it mean to be intelligent? What does it mean to pursue goals? Explain why this alignment problem is so difficult. You might already be getting a sense of why it's so hard to first distill what our goals and values are and then try to instill them into intelligent systems that are not human. How could that happen from a theoretical and from a technical point of view? And why different approaches so far are not going very well, or what strategies are available for dealing with these challenges. And finally, the main goal is for you to be able to engage in informed debates and discuss about LLMs and the ethics of creating powerful technologies and how this could all shape the future of humanity, and be able to argue in concrete and constructive ways about all the different possibilities. Now, try to bookmark all the relevant pages. This is a relevant page, the website of the course. Everything you need to find about the course is here, plus Brightspace. And from here you can get to the YouTube playlist where you can find all of my short lectures. Make sure you check your emails regularly. Any changes or updates will be shared and communicated with you there. Try to be an active reader. Take your time, make notes. Try to think through every question and every problem. When we have conversations, be a respectful conversationalist and try to process all the new information. There'll be a lot of stuff that might be difficult and new and unfamiliar, and you might have to think about it and take more time and take notes or ask questions. Allow yourself to engage in this process. This is the process of learning. And now when the time comes for you to submit any of your assignments, try to read them through and imagine yourselves grading that assignment as if it weren't yours. What grade would you give? Try to distance yourself a little bit from the assignment itself and from yourself as the author, and kind of try to evaluate it, and this will help you improve it before submitting it. Now, we can go through every part of the course very briefly so that you get an idea of what it's all about. Part 1 will cover the essentials. We'll start with Human Compatible, read the first few chapters, the first 2 chapters, that will give you the context of what is this AI mission and the AI ethics and safety mission, and how does it relate to moving towards a good future, perhaps, if you will. And then the second week, the problem of intelligence is a long philosophical problem. We struggle to define intelligence, as you will see from the collection of definitions of intelligence. And then the Dennett paper, the frame problem of AI, it's an old problem not related to LLMs, which is the kernel architecture. So that will give you some perspective. How has the AI problem evolved? And some of the problems and challenges may have remained the same as well. And a little bit of history. Again, this is a classic textbook on AI. It will give you a sense of how do we get from symbolic AI, which is the previous AI paradigm, to what we have now, which is neural networks, and in particular deep neural networks. This is the architecture behind large language models. And then you'll get to think more specifically about deep learning and where we are now. What is this AI progress that we're encountering? And Russell talks about this and trying to project it a little bit into the future as well. And finally, for this section, you'll get to see the actual LLM architecture and how does it work and what do we know about it. And these two papers, the philosophical introduction to large language models, will give you an idea of what philosophical conceptual concerns we have. And for the more philosophically minded of you, it will also show the continuity between some classical philosophical debates and what we now face and have to re-examine for LLMs. So this is the first part of the course. You will here have one writing assignment. You'll know more about this further on. I will communicate details via email and announcements. The second part of the course, risks from advanced systems. You'll now be introduced to the idea of existential risk. What does it mean for a system to be smarter than the smartest human, and if that is possible, and when that could potentially be possible, what would it mean for the future of humanity? So starting again with the path to superintelligence, which is an active project of artificial intelligence companies at the moment to build superintelligence, to build systems smarter than humans. And how could that impact the future of humanity? The idea of existential risk in itself, as you will see, is not that new. It has been of interest in the past, depending on the context. And so you'll see in this paper the intellectual history, how it traces back to the Enlightenment and other thinkers way before the current AI paradigm. Then you'll get to think harder about the alignment problem, and why is the alignment problem so closely related to this idea of existential risk, and how everything could change if we get systems that are not aligned, and whatever that means. We'll double click a bit on that to see what that could mean. What could it mean to say that a system has its own goals? What does it mean for AI models to be pursuing their own values? And both these papers will try to give you context on AI systems with goal-directed behavior, as we say. And finally, we'll close the second part of the course by thinking about the alignment problem and why it's so difficult. Why is it so difficult to even say that we all agree on what human values are, and how these could be compressed, and how they could be instilled into an AI system? Now, the third part of the course will be more about this problem of the future and why it's so hard to account for the uncertainty of the future. But despite that, how should we go about this thinking? And so you'll see this different explorations of possible futures. So for example, many different authors on the future of AI from the perspective of AI and AI risk, and how having superintelligence around could drastically impact that future. Now, we will be considering a few debates in this section, and you'll see this dialogical form of, is a technological singularity likely? First of all, what is a singularity? It is that point in the future of technology where we reach superintelligence, simply put. And so you have this debate between Chalmers and Hutter whether it's possible or not possible, and then from possible to how likely that could be. Then this tension between risk and responsibility, and on the one hand, wanting to create powerful technologies, highly transformative technologies, and on the other hand, worrying that these technologies could have results that are very hard to control and very hard to even predict and manage. So in that sense, should we let scientists and technologists build technologies that carry these enormous risks? And of course, a moral philosophy debate on this. What do we owe the future? So on the one hand, we have this case for long-termism by MacAskill, where he argues that we owe a lot to the future. There's a lot of people living in that future, and the consequentialist calculus essentially tells us that we have to consider these people in the future, and we cannot be morally irresponsible right now, risking jeopardizing the future for all these people. And on the other hand, there could be some counter arguments, and of course, again, factoring this epistemic uncertainty that MacAskill also talks about. And finally, thinking that a world with AI is very, very plausible, even though we might be very uncertain about the details of what the world could look like. How should we prepare? The problem is not quite solved, but we may have AI systems that will have perhaps a sense of sentience, or maybe some people say we should assign rights, or legal. We should treat AI systems as legal entities with consciousness, self-respect, freedom. What is there to think about there? Again, it's all meant to be introductory. It's all meant to open up the conversation. And so try to see these problems in these terms, in terms of debates, and in terms of, we're very confused, but we have to argue, and we have to think carefully through the problems, and we have to have some concrete ideas and paths, because if these futures are even in principle possible, we might be unprepared when the time comes. And this is part of the goal of this course, to prepare you, to give you some conceptual tools to engage in informed discussion and thinking. So we have now covered the overview of the course, and we're moving forward to the first week of the class on the AI Essentials, Part 1, Introduction. Start with human compatible, and we'll be back with more on the AI Essentials. See you soon.